You're listening to the Business of Pharmacy podcast with me, your host, Mike Kelzer. Well, hello, Benjamin.
Hey, how's it going, Mike?
Going well. Great to have you back on the show.
I'm excited to be back. It's been fun seeing the other folks you've had on since the last time we talked.
Out of all the podcasts I've done, yours has so far been the highest listeners.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
I think it's a combination. Well, besides your good looks of having your picture on there, and besides all the knowledge you have, I think it speaks to the mystery and the disgust of the PBMs and DIRs and stuff of having that in the headline. Benjamin, your name has grown synonymous with, I feel terrible saying that. Your name has grown synonymous with about the worst terms in pharmacy. And it's kind of like saying Jesus' name is synonymous with the worst sin or something. But so I want to make sure that I want to make sure that the listeners know that you're on the correct side.
Yeah, my name is Benjamin Jolley, DIR fees, same thing. One or the other.
Same thing.
Your bit about Jesus is very funny.
Well, Benjamin, for those that haven't come across you for some reason, tell the listeners what's going on. Why are we talking today?
So we talked a few weeks ago about DIR fees, generic effective rates, all the games the PBMs play. We came in contact through social media, you and I, and I've built a little consultancy for folks to just understand what their contracts say, basically, in the world of pharmacy. Because most pharmacists take the approach to contracting of just flipping to the last page where it says the rate sheet and saying, okay, AWP minus whatever percentage, fine, whatever, I'll sign. I need those patients. Most folks have taken that approach to contracting, and I found that is not wise. And understanding what is in your contract, what it allows the PBM to do, what kind of fees are in there, what kind of true-ups are going to be there, understanding that is really important for folks that try to run a pharmacy to maintain their business into the future. I don't think that, first of all, I think that to run a profitable business, you need to understand the business that you're running. And reading the contract between you and the PBM, to me, is step one of understanding what business you're in. Because otherwise, you might as well be selling roses on the street, trying to succeed as a flower girl in the mid-1800s. If you don't understand that business, that's a really weird thing to say. Whatever. I don't know where that came from.
And here I am thinking that, I don't know, but maybe they did pretty well. I'm guessing they did.
I have no idea. I'm just thinking of like a movie. I don't know. What's that movie about the girl who has to figure out how to talk like a lady? Eliza Doolittle, I think her name is.
Maybe you're have to sit down and watch those movies with your wife, but I've found a way out of it. So,
My Fair Lady. That's the name of the movie.
Oh, yes.
My Fair Lady. She started out as a flower girl.
The other night, I'm in the other room and I hear this monster sound, just this clanking. I go in the other room because I was on the piano and I flipped to Somewhere in Time, the movie with Christopher Reeves and Jane, I forget her name, Jane Seymour. So I'm playing, and this awful sound comes from the other room. And I go in there, and my wife's just got the TV just cranked. So I realize she's got on Somewhere in Time. She said, your playing made me realize that I should be watching this. So she said, come on, sit down. So I sit down, and she cuddles up next to me and kind of grabs my arm and holds on, like we're dating or something. And I realized that it had nothing to do with trying to cuddle with me. She was holding me there. She wasn't letting me get up. I was stuck there for the whole hour and a half, and I enjoyed it.
It's
But
a fun movie. It's my mom's favorite movie,
it's a
actually.
very good movie. It's a
Yeah,
very good movie. So if you don't read the contracts, you're going into it blind, and more than likely, there's enough dirty players out there to take advantage of the people when they're blindly into a contract.
for sure. That's how we started talking, but we had talked after off the air here, and we thought, we should really talk about some of the good things that are happening in the world because, like you said, my name is now synonymous with like all of the worst things happening in pharmacy. Uh,
The reason why I think your message is so powerful is because a lot of us in the pharmacy business, we take the PBMs, we take the DIRs, we take all that stuff, and we say that's just a dirty necessity, and you try to actually block it out of your head, and you find something kind of so far in the opposite direction that you're able to continue to stop thinking about it. But just like in the great movie Somewhere in Time, spoiler alert, I did that with Schindler's List when I was talking to Dr. Maria a couple weeks ago, and I gave a spoiler alert of like a 35-year-old movie. So I don't know if I have to give spoiler alerts for Somewhere in Time.
I hope not.
All right, but just in case someone's intrigued by your mom's favorite movie and my wife's way to force me to sit on the couch for an hour and a half, spoiler alert, but Christopher Reeve's character goes back in the past and he finds a penny in his pocket from like 1979. It brings his thought back to the future. So what most of us do in pharmacy is we try to forget about the PBM, forget about the DIRs, and try to do something else like MTMs or something that's pretty far distance from that. But then you can't get away from that penny in the pocket of realizing that you're still dealing with PBMs, and you just get brought into this total opposite feeling again of just this butterfly hate in your stomach about these characters. What I really like about you, Benjamin, what I love seeing online about you is you hate them as much as the rest of us, but you haven't run from them in terms of doing something totally different. You've sort of stayed in the same playground with them. And it's like, all right, you might have bigger gloves than I do. You might have a longer reach, but I'm going to jump around you and do things without necessarily going to a new playground. And so you've done things like your consulting business, and you've taken some information from the PBMs and are using it to your benefit. And you're talking to people about ideas of maybe going to this local doctor or the local business and telling them some things about the PBM where maybe you can niche out something to get a little cash business on things that might be below the copay, blah, blah, blah. And so I loved that, how you were able to not just jump, but mold, you stayed in the fight. And it's not like I have to wake you up every once in a while and say, Benjamin, come back to reality. You're doing all this cool stuff over here, but the reality is PBMs are doing this. And you're like, no, Mike, I'm in that reality still. I'm seeing it all the time, and I'm trying to find my way around it because they are still part of this fight. And so we didn't have time on the first show, but I was really eager to get you back in to say, all right, what are some counterpunches that maybe we can do?
Right. I guess I'll just address what kind of counterpunches do we have, right? So number one is just taking on PBMs in terms of their client base, right? So PBMs exist and have the market share they do because they're really good at selling their product, their formulary list, their rebate structures, their contracts with you to a plan sponsor. And there's nothing like out there really stopping you from just going directly to that plan sponsor and saying, hey, I think I can get you a better deal just by working with me directly. Particularly if it's someone who's really close in your neighborhood, or maybe it's you. There was just this last week, someone shared an EOB of their own pharmacy's plan with their carrier. They had been reimbursed, like they billed their own insurance for their birth control pills. And their pharmacy had been reimbursed $4, and the plan had paid out $107 to the PBM. And so the PBM had taken $102 for the pharmacist owner to take a birth control pack off of her shelf and use it for herself.
Just for our listeners, the pharmacist got paid like how much on that?
$4.
$4.
And 1 cent.
And the PBM, which is in some other city that didn't touch it, didn't do a thing, charged the plan like $100 or whatever the difference was.
Exactly. Yeah. So she went and build her plan, build her own insurance plan. She has her card. She buys insurance from whatever, one of the big 5 plans, and they give her a drug card, and she goes and bills her drug card, gets paid $4, but then the plan sends her an explanation of benefits that says, we paid $104 for this. And so, like, if that's happening to your own pharmacy, do you think it's not happening to the factory across the street or to the car shop across 2 blocks down the road? Like, of course it is.
Yeah.
And so if you can somehow afford to move that product out your door for $4, then you can surely do it for $24,
right,
and go save the plan sponsor $70.
Tell us what you mean by plan sponsor. Give me an example of who that is.
Whoever is paying the premiums for a plan. So your pharmacy probably employs a number of people, and you provide insurance benefits for some of them, I would guess, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not all of them. Your part-timers probably not.
Right.
The way that the insurance industry works is basically you're paying premiums, and then the health plan that you're buying your product from is just using your premiums to pay for whatever services your staff buys. And this is why health insurance is so expensive for small businesses, is because you have to go pay the end person, the pharmacy, the doctor, the hospital. But then you also have to pay for the person in the middle to administer the claim, and you have to pay the pharmacy benefit manager, and there's just all these mouths to feed. At the end of the day, your insurance plan isn't paying anything. It's you that's paying for it via your premiums. It's just you don't see that tie directly, right?
Yeah, right. Gotcha.
When you go to your doctor's office and they bill your plan, you don't ever see the money leave your bank account for that specific claim. You see a premium go out of your bank account. But in terms of dollars, it pretty much averages out, especially over a long time frame.
Yeah, because if they don't get you that year, they're going to come back the next year and raise your premiums because now they know that you've got this certain disease and so on.
Right. In essence, your insurance plan is not the one paying for it. It's you at the end of the day.
The insurance carrier is not taking on a lot of risk. They're really a bank account.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For your funds.
The basic business model of insurance is just calculating what level of risk you think a given plan sponsor is going to have.
Yeah.
I think you're going to spend $100,000, so I'll make sure that I bring in $110,000 in premiums from you, and I'm good.
Yeah.
Right. That's like the whole point of insurance, is that you have to be able to calculate the risk, or else it's not insurable risk.
Yeah.
You can't insure something that you can't guess how often it's going to happen.
What's the example of something that an insurance cannot calculate? Like a whole COVID, like wiping out all the businesses?
A black swan type event like that, yeah.
You can't get like maybe pandemic insurance or something like that.
You probably could, but it'd be either very expensive or they'd probably go bankrupt before you would actually get paid out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things that aren't insurable, you can't. It's either going to be super expensive because they're going to have to say, well, we have no idea how much this is going to cost, and so we'll just charge you $1 billion.
So that truly is an example. It's like they really don't know what that would come out to, so they don't take that risk.
Right. But like the prevalence of diabetes in a population is a well-known number, right? Mm-hmm. The CDC publishes diabetes prevalence all the time. The odds that someone who has diabetes is going to go to the hospital and have a heart attack, you can know that number. It's it's going to be within a certain range. The cost of that heart attack, like having someone have a heart attack, go to the hospital, it's probably going to be somewhere between $50 and $150,000.
Hmm.
So if you just play those numbers out, you just hire an actuary that knows what they're doing. You can play those numbers out and say, okay, we're going to calculate how much the premium should be to cover the average risk that we estimate in this pharmacy or in this factory or in this, I don't know, tech company or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and so long as the insurance company can accurately guess that and set the premiums
Oh, I
above
see.
that number,
Gotcha.
they make money every time.
And there's some things that they can't guess or predict that I'm going to get cancer, but they know out of 1,000 lives that so many are going to get cancer, kind of thing.
That's exactly why you get insurance, right?
Gotcha. Right.
Because like that's the whole definition of insurance, right? It's that you don't know how many people are which people are going
Which
to have
one, but
this
you
thing.
know how many.
But you know that something like this is going to happen
Hmm.
if you have enough people,
Yes, right, right.
right? Car accidents. If people are driving 100,000 miles between them, maybe one of those miles there's going to be a crash of some kind,
Yes, right.
right? And you try and bring the number of crashes down so that you can keep more of your premiums, but there's going to be this number, so long as you have a premium that's higher than the amount of crashes and the dollar value of those crashes, you're good.
Sure.
But understanding that really the insurance is not the one paying, it's you the employer, you the as I used plan sponsor is the one that's paying for it. Then you realize that you could, rather than buying it from this middleman here who then buys it from the pharmacy, if I just went straight to the pharmacy and bought all of the drug benefits for my employees directly from the pharmacy, we could cut out a mouth to feed, right?
Yeah.
Like we can't blame a PBM for wanting to make money. They employ people who have wives and children and need to feed their children and pay their mortgages. You can't blame them for wanting to make money, but by cutting them out, you can have a more efficient, a more cost-efficient system.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to pay an admin fee of however many dollars, and you don't need to pay a spread between what you pay the pharmacy and what you pay the PBM. That doesn't need to be there. And so when you realize that that's a possibility, and to be clear, I haven't done this at all, but it's something that I have, like, once I realized how this whole system worked and that that's even a possibility, I'm like, this, I've become obsessed with this idea over the last several weeks
Yeah.
of just, can I cut a deal directly with the gas station across the street and the college up the way and my friend is a lawyer and is a partner in that firm. Can I provide benefits to all of the paralegals and all the lawyers in that firm directly rather than them going to, say, buy benefits from Express Scripts out in St. Louis? They pay money out to St. Louis, it comes back to me. Why not just shorten the length of that transaction from going all the way to St. Louis and back to just
That's right.
to me?
Yeah.
And I'll just send you an invoice at the end of each month and you just pay me, and if you save money, great. That to me is people call this disintermediation, which is a fancy word that means taking out the middleman,
Yeah.
right? But I think there's a lot of potential for small pharmacies like ours to do that because we have personal relationships with the people who go and work in these businesses and own these businesses, right?
Yeah.
The way that PBMs get the business is they pay off brokers, and then the broker tells the person, "This is how you should buy your pharmacy benefits."
The insurances, there's no real reason why there's only 3 or 4 that come to your mind. That's the same as, let's say, chain pharmacies. these chain pharmacies might come to mind. But the things that you're talking about, these plans and stuff, they break down to independent brokers and so on, just like pharmacy does. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, Blue Cross does not, Blue Cross Blue Shield does not have like some massive call center in each state that is how they sell all of their policies. They hire someone like me and someone like you who can build a relationship with Joe who owns the spork factory down the way, right? And convince Joe that he should buy a plan from Blue Cross rather than from Humana, rather than from Aetna, rather than just having his own plan in-house
Right.
that he just has a bank account,
Right.
right? And they pay them a commission for each time they sell a policy. I've been reading a lot of stuff by guys that call themselves Health Rosetta benefit consultants rather than brokers. Health Rosetta being a like certification that a broker or a benefit consultant can get to say that they understand how to do this kind of thing of like brokering a deal directly between a factory and a pharmacy or a factory and a doctor's office, or a factory and a hospital, rather than using these big, huge carrier networks.
Okay, Benjamin, here's the problem. Blue Cross doesn't allow that cutout, though, right? They're going to say, no, I'm sorry, we're Blue Cross. We don't have room for the Benjamins and the Mikes who are going to strike separate deals. You're going to deal with these 3 or 4 PBMs at most. You can pick one of those. Is that a big issue or a big hurdle?
That's definitely an issue that people have run into, especially over the last couple of years, as Cigna bought Express Scripts and Caremark bought Aetna, and Optum became a division of United Health, right? These vertical mergers between the insurance and the PBM definitely makes this harder, but it certainly can be done.
How would you break? How do you go to a place that has Blue Cross and you say, hey, talk to Blue Cross, tell them you're dropping this PBM. You're going to go with Benjamins or Mikes. And they say, no, we can't do it. How do you take that on?
Here's what I'd say. Go read, there's a book by a guy named Dave Chase who started the Health Rosetta thing. Go read his book. It's called The CEO's Guide to Restoring the American Dream. It's available online. He puts it out there for free, but like with the caveat that please donate, basically, right? You can also buy it on Amazon or your local bookstore, I'm sure. Please do your local bookstore. Amazon is a giant monopoly, just like these PBMs.
Yeah, right.
And they do not have a friendly view of small business pharmacies.
No.
Unfortunately. Go read that book, though. He lays it all out. How do you do this? What do you look at? How do you do it? In essence, long story short,
how do you break into a national market if you're not a national player,
right?
Kind of thing?
It's mostly directed at the employer who is buying the health benefits for their employee.
Yeah, a lot of times, if you convince them and they're the ones paying it, the local rep or broker is not going to get any of their money if they don't bend a little bit. There's tricks in this book to say, if you want my business, you got to let me be in control of 10% of that. And then the 10% is the amount that's going to go to the local pharmacy.
Precisely. So like he just walks you through the whole concept from nuts to soup of like, how do you build out a self-funded, as they call it, health plan where you're in control, which really, as Howard Danzig puts it, self-funded is a misnomer. You're still self-funding even if you're a fully insured plan.
Yeah.
Right? It's really just who controls the money. Is it you that controls the money, or is it the carrier?
Yeah, and that's quoting Howard. Howard's like, look at Blue Cross. They do not walk around with stethoscopes. They're a bank, basically.
They're trying to become the company that walks around with stethoscopes, though, particularly United Health Group.
With their own employees?
Oh, yeah. Do you know how many doctors United Health Group employs?
No.
50,000.
Well, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's 1,000 in every state, and some of them don't have them. So
Yeah, those are direct employees of United Health Group.
not even like part of a PPO or something like that.
No, their practice is owned by United Health Group.
It's like CVS being owned by who? Caremark.
Exactly.
Same thing.
Same exact concept. United Health Group owns a bazillion physician practices. They usually run under names that aren't like United Health Group, Clinic of whatever. It's usually some other brand, but if you look into it, their Optum unit runs all of their offices, all their physician offices across the country, and they're like the largest employer of physicians in the country.
And they benefit by that because there's not another company, there's not a doctor company making a profit off of them. They're making the profit from their own employees.
Right. They move the money from one bank account to another, to another, to another, and they're able to make some good money, which it's a great business model for them. It's phenomenal. It makes total sense for them to do that. It totally fits into the way that they see the world. So I can't criticize them for wanting to own physician practices. I can think that it's anti-competitive, and I don't think it's a good thing for society at large. But so far as their business model is concerned, it makes perfect sense.
Sure.
It's just like CVS owning CVS Specialty Pharmacy and Caremark saying you have to go to our specialty pharmacy. Same exact thing. Perfect fit for their business model. I don't think that it's fair, and I don't think that it should be legal under our, antitrust laws, but the government sees it differently than me. So here we are.
I can understand why the patient could suffer because of not being able to maybe work with smaller business owners who arguably care more for this, more for the patient and so on. I never quite understood the anti-competitive stuff. Is that for pricing monopolies because eventually they raise the price, or is it just like the government's supposed to let little guys try to hit the American dream of the pursuit of happiness?
Antitrust law to me is a topic near and dear to my heart, but also, unfortunately, like I said, the government doesn't see it the way I do. Traditionally, for the last 100 years, until about Reagan's administration, basically, you were not allowed to have more than a certain percentage of any given business. So, if you were a supermarket in a given market, you were not allowed to grow past a certain point just because we assumed that the government assumed that if you hit a certain point, you would start to use tactics that would suppress the ability of your competitors to compete with you.
Which in the end hurts the consumer because of price raises? Or they care about people reaching for the American dream?
Your question gets at exactly what happened with the Reagan administration with antitrust law. In the Reagan administration and since then, the definition of antitrust has, the reason for antitrust existing has been to prevent consumers from being harmed.
Okay.
But antitrust law before that was not about consumer benefit. It was about having a fair and level marketplace for everyone, producers and consumers.
I gotcha. Okay.
But in the late 70s, early 80s, and going forward, antitrust law was made out to be the only thing that matters is if prices go up for the consumer. If we can't prove that prices are going to go up, then we have to let the merger go through. But that's a total revamp of the way that antitrust law read before that. That is one way that you can view antitrust law. The point of this is so that prices don't go up for people. But just because Walmart can source widgets cheaper than I can, and the reason they can do that is because they've gotten so big that they can dictate prices to their suppliers.
It's almost like the consumers can't complain because their prices have been fixed higher, but almost everybody else can sort of complain because their remuneration for their stuff is lower.
Right. And so this whole concept that you've got to push down the price means that companies that produce a higher quality product are pushed out of the marketplace. Right. If the only person that you can sell widgets to is Walmart or Amazon or whoever, and they dictate you need to hit this price,
right,
then widgets are going to go to the lowest common denominator. You're going to be sourcing all of your drugs from China, where we are today, right?
Yeah.
PBMs have said you have to hit lower and lower and lower and lower prices to stay profitable. And so now here we are, 90% of generic APIs are produced in China.
Yeah.
That's the natural consequence of not having, of letting people become these power buyers, which doesn't raise prices for consumers, but it does decrease the choice in the marketplace.
It might be a little bit longer run, but in the end, it crushes maybe the American dream.
To me, it does, right? Like if I want to go and produce, if I want to go start a generics company today to go produce generic drugs to sell to the American public, I'm going to have to source my active ingredients from somewhere, or I'm going to
Right.
have to build a warehouse here or I'm going to have to build some kind of manufacturing facility here in the States to produce those drugs. But when 90% of all of the generics are purchased by 4 companies, who then sell them to all the independent pharmacies, Red Oak Sourcing, Econ Disc, let's see. Anyway, Red Oak Sourcing sells to Cardinal, or they are owned by Cardinal and CVS, and they control something like 30% of all the generics purchased for the entire U.S. marketplace. Econ Disc sources for Amerisource, Walmart. I'm not sure what all of the company affiliations are, but like basically you have 4 companies that buy like 90% of all of the generics for the entire U.S. marketplace, and then move them to their wholesaler division, and then those wholesalers sell them to the pharmacies. It's going to be really hard for me as a small startup trying to produce losartan or whatever
Right.
to hit the price that one of those 4 companies is willing to accept.
The pharmacy still sees the manufacturer names that we're kind of used to, but the 4 you mentioned are like the wholesalers to the wholesalers.
Precisely.
Gotcha.
Right. And they're usually just divisions of the wholesalers that we work with.
Physically, even?
Red Oak Sourcing is a 50-50 venture of CVS Health and
Oh,
and Cardinal.
gotcha.
And so
Gotcha.
it's 50% owned by Cardinal. I buy from Cardinal, so really I'm buying from Red Oak Sourcing, who's then buying from Apotex or Teva or whoever. Frankly, our entire economy is just built around all of these monopolies and power buyers or monopsonies that just buy everything. It's really frustrating, but
Yeah.
but I think that the way that we as pharmacists get the world, particularly independent pharmacy owners, get the world away from this, you have to just buy from these 4 companies in this industry, or these 4 companies in this one, or these 4 companies in that industry, is you go and just talk to people directly, and you broker a deal between you and them rather than um, relying on a PBM to issue a card to you that then you bill. You go and cut out these middlemen wherever they are that you're working with someone.
The owner of the company would have to either be big enough or have enough determination to say to the Blue Cross broker that comes, if you want it, I'll give you it, but I need this cutout. Or are there other ways?
Let's just put it this way. The status quo for health benefits for employers is totally unsustainable and insane.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like your premiums go up by how much every year?
Right.
And it's just completely unsustainable to keep on having your premium go up at this rate. Like if you're spending, say, $100,000 on your health benefits, you're just a fairly small company, and your gross margin on what you're selling is 10%.
Yeah.
That means just to support your health benefits, you need $1 million in sales.
Yeah, right.
Right, just for your health benefits. What these guys with the Health Rosetta and this CEO's Guide to the Restoring the American Dream, what they found is that a lot of that $100,000 is waste and is margin for the insurer, not product and service being bought for your employees. And so if you cut them out, you can reliably cut that spend from 100,000 to 70,000.
Probably double the service or triple or quadruple.
Right. And improve the service level for your employees help them get better health, but spend less money because you're just spending it on the actual people providing the services rather than on layers upon layers of middlemen. I think that a employer who gets that concept, and like I talk about this all the time because people need to know this. Like pharmacy owners need to know that they can build out a health plan that's just in-house rather than hiring a Blue Cross or an United or a Cigna or an Aetna or whoever. They can they can have no PBM for their pharmacy employees and just say, "You just get your drugs for free from my store." Or every time you fill a script, it's $10. I don't care. But it's cheaper for me to just move the inventory and hand it to you than it is for me to pay Express Scripts $100 and then pay me $4.
There comes a point where I start to eye some of these people and knowing that they're in this plan that's just screwing me and you don't have a way to really screw them back, but they're not screwing you enough to drop everything. Pretty soon, the patients start to take a little bit of that brunt of that, of not getting maybe your top service, or maybe if you could decide between two customers, even if it's subliminally, you're not trying to give them less service, but sometimes that anger has to go somewhere.
Yeah, if you're losing money on someone, it's not a pleasant experience to give service to someone who you're paying money to do it. It's not a pleasant experience, and I don't want to do that. And the worst part is that they're probably not saving money by doing it. Like that's the whole point that the big idea of what I'm trying to get out there is that just because that employee plan that like their employer is using a crappy PBM that pays you crap does not mean that they're saving money by paying you crap because it's probably being marked up.
The complaints about Amazon and the complaints about this and complaints about bigger companies. It's like, yeah, some people could argue, well, yeah, I'm getting it cheaper. I can see I'm getting it cheaper because I paid this much. Look, here's how much I paid on my credit card for this at these two different stores. And you could say that between a hardware store and, Walmart or buying a burger at Joe's down the street for $10 or a 99-cent burger. But in pharmacy, it's backwards. You're paying the $10 for the crappy burger and $1. It's backwards because no one sees it.
Exactly. Because it's not a free market. It's a controlled market by the PBMs. And hidden. And it's behind the scenes of your premiums. You're not seeing the prices at all unless you are a really savvy business owner who's really looking at how your premium dollars are being spent if you even have access to that information. Some of the insurers claim that that's proprietary information. They're not going to tell you how much they paid out for you going to the hospital.
It would seem like a very small goal to see a contract that you're in. And for those in the PSAOs, they can't even see the contract. And then sometimes people don't want to see the contract.
I think you're right.
I'm gonna have to start drinking here if I keep talking about this. Now,
Let's talk about something else.
Now listen. All right. So listen. Here's why you're here.
Okay.
All right. That is possible. I did an episode with Howard Danzig, and he talked about this, about forming a smaller insurance in the book that you mentioned too, and so on. All right. That would be a very cool step to beat the PBMs. Let's say in the meantime, though, we read the book and you give Howard a call and you do this and do that. Is our interview over right now, or do you have a little bit more life that we can talk about?
I have a little more if you want.
Come on, bring it on. Bring it on.
This makes me a lot happier and a lot less angry. Okay, so I've mentioned this to you before off the air, but
yeah,
one of the things that I think is a real positive of pharmacy right now is, we basically get all our prescriptions from SureScripts via e-prescribing, right?
Yeah.
But something beneficial that I've noticed recently is that starting middle of last year, a lot of the large EHR companies that the physicians use.
EHR is what?
Electronic health record, the physician computer system, right?
Yep.
A lot of the larger companies there, the Epic, Cerner, MD Toolbox, a couple others. Anyway, they've started to, anytime the physician sends a prescription to me, they attach some clinical information to it as well.
Mhm.
So I get a diagnosis code. You know how like just essential to practice knowing what someone is using a drug for is?
It helps a lot to know if they're trying to quit smoking or they're suicidal or they're depressed or something, right?
Right, like
Same drug.
that matters. So they put the diagnosis code with the drug. But then also and most people see that part. But the thing that I saw that most pharmacists don't realize is there is that they're also sending a height, and they're also sending a weight, and they're also sending the most recent blood pressure recorded in the physician's system. And that's exciting to me. Um, because like I have seen people on LinkedIn and elsewhere complain, man, physicians just assume that they send me an e-prescription that says weight-based dosing for this drug. Like that's all that's in the SIG is just weight-based dosing for this diagnosis, and it's like, and then they call the physician and say, "Hey, what's their weight? I don't know."
Yeah. Yeah, right.
But it turns out that, and like the physician responds, "Well, I just assumed it's in the chart; it would go to you." But it turns out that in the last year, it's actually going to you now. As part of the new standard for sending e-prescriptions, there's a requirement for any pediatric prescription that, and they haven't fully implemented this on all of the different EHRs, but there's a requirement that they send you a height and a weight. Like that is a required field. It will not, the standard requires that before you can even send a prescription. You have to attach a height and weight, which upsets some specific specialties in pediatrics because they don't usually take people's height and weight because they're like, I don't know, a nose doctor, right? What do they care what the person's height is? They're treating some kind of weird nasal infection.
Benjamin, here's why I think it's a stupid idea. Take the weight, because every time I go to my doctors, their scale's always broken.
Of course.
And it always reads high.
I know.
Wouldn't you think it'd be 50-50, like down 20 or up 20?
You would sure think so. So once we have that fixed,
Once you have that taken care of,
at least you're getting a weight, even if you have to adjust it downward a couple pounds.
it's like taking the thermometer under the mouth or the underarm. You have to
Right.
adjust. All right. So,
Anyway, so you're getting these heights and weights and blood pressure, so you actually can do the kinds of things that a physician typically expects if they're practicing in a hospital setting, right? Like,
yeah,
in most hospitals that I've ever stepped foot in into their pharmacy department, physicians don't dose the vancomycin. They say vancomycin by pharmacy protocol, and then the pharmacy takes over dosing of that vancomycin, and that's their job, is to make sure that this person's vancomycin is not going to kill their kidneys, but it's going to kill the bacteria, right?
yeah.
And so that's like their entire, it's entirely in their court. They don't have to ask the physician for permission anymore. It's just, that's what you do. You just say pharmacy does the dosing. You can't do that if you don't have a weight, though.
Right.
So it opens up that realm of possibility. Or for me personally, blood pressure has been a big focus of the Flip the Pharmacy program over the last 6 months. Right? I don't know how familiar your listenership is with Flip the Pharmacy.
NCPA has a part in that, and also
CPESN.
CPESN, yep.
And also the Community Pharmacy Foundation. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay.
So Flip the Pharmacy is a practice transformation initiative to help pharmacies move from a practice model of I must check this prescription as fast as possible and get it out the door as fast as possible to a model of I need to make sure that this patient is taken care of in a holistic manner, right? I need to make sure that the drug that I'm dispensing to them is appropriate for the condition that we're trying to treat and is working for that patient, right?
Yeah.
Like, is the For example, with blood pressure, um, it should be, in my mind, just part of our practice model in pharmacy that anytime we dispense a antihypertensive medicine, we just double check that the patient's blood pressure is under control.
Yeah.
And if it's not, then we intervene in some way.
Yeah.
We either ask the doctor, hey, can we increase the dose of the lisinopril? It's 5 milligrams. It's been 5 milligrams for 5 years. Can we make it 10 milligrams?
Yeah.
His blood pressure is 150 over 80. It needs to be below 140 over 80. Can we push this dose up a little bit?
Yeah.
Like that should be just part of what we do.
Right.
It's not hard. Every pharmacist has that in their capacity.
Yeah.
Saying, is this blood pressure above 140 over 90 or not? You can do that. Saying, is this dose titrated to the maximal dose or not? You can totally do that.
Yeah.
But that should just be part of what we do. And if you're getting a blood pressure reading from the physician office on every single prescription transaction you get for that patient,
Yeah.
it becomes much easier because then you don't have to go and take the person's blood pressure.
Right.
You don't have to ask them what their blood pressure was. You just say, you know what, on your last clinic visit, it looks like your blood pressure was, a little high.
Right.
How's your diet? Are you taking a lot of salt? And if we're willing to do that, we should be compensated for that. Because blood pressure control is so very simple and like every pharmacist in the country, I guarantee they know enough about antihypertensives and enough about blood pressure that for a vanilla patient who's just taking lisinopril, they can do all of this, right?
Yeah.
And so anyway, we should take that leap of just saying, you know what, we're going to do this. And we're going to write down what we did. This is the concept with Flip the Pharmacies, that you get pharmacies to actually write down what they did in a structured way.
Yeah.
Right? In traditional pharmacy practice, we don't usually write down a soap note every time we dispense lisinopril.
Right.
Right, and you don't need to. That's not what we're asking anyone to do with the Flip the Pharmacy concept. But instead, you think about it as you're dispensing, and you write a brief note about what you're doing. You say, you know what, Mrs. Jones's blood pressure's a little high. Next time I talk to her in a month, we're going to talk to her about it again. We're going to check her blood pressure the next time she's in the pharmacy a month from now.
Yeah.
And we're going to make sure that it is under control. And if it's not, we're going to call the doctor, and we're going to write down what we did.
Yeah.
I called the doctor, blood pressure, lisinopril dose increased.
Yeah.
Right. And then we're going to take credit for that, and we're going to go and talk to Joe's Spork factory down the road, and we're going to say, hey, Joe, here's the deal. Heart attacks cost you a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know what prevents heart attacks? Having blood pressure under control. You know what I do every time I check a prescription for someone, for any of your employees? I look at their blood pressure, and if it's not under control, I do something about it. How about we work out a model where you pay me just a little bit? Like, I don't need the $100,000 that you spend every time one of your employees goes to the hospital for a heart attack. I just want, like, I don't know, $1,000 to take care of all of your employees. Like, this is not a hard thing to do. Just give me like $1,000. I'll monitor all of your 20 employees every time they come in the store. We'll just make sure this happens. You just pay me $1,000 a year for all of your employees to do this, and I will happily make sure that your employees' blood pressure is under control, on the assumption that your employees then will have less heart attacks in the future, and you'll save $100,000, right?
Right.
Or you do the same thing and you take that same concept to your state Medicaid plan, right?
Yeah.
Your state covers hundreds of thousands of people.
Right.
And they have heart attacks all the time. They have blindness. They have kidney disease. You know what prevents all of those things? Having controlled blood pressure. And so, hey, how about pay me just a small amount for each enrollee as just a monitoring fee, and we'll my pharmacy and all of the other pharmacies that work with us, we will do this. And so the Flip the Pharmacy program is a grant funded by the Community Pharmacy Foundation to help pharmacies get used to this concept of taking care of people over time like that. It's not a hard intervention, but by actually going and documenting it and taking credit for it. Pharmacists do awesome stuff all the time. They go and save people money on their drugs by switching them from brand to generic, or doing some formulary research and saying, "Hey, you know what? This drug would actually be cheaper for you and would work better," but we don't take credit for it.
That's right. It's been said the quick oil changes, we have a lot to learn from them. They spend 10 minutes and they come up and they bring up this paper, and they've checked 30 things and they circle this and do that, and we certainly do that. We just don't report it.
Right. We don't take credit for it. And that's what the point of this is to write down what you're doing. And then because you're writing down what you're doing and someone's holding you accountable for it, you're going to do it more.
Yeah.
Right? And so you get people used to the concept of writing down what they're doing in a structured way, which is called the Pharmacist's E-Care Plan. And frankly, just watching people's blood pressure, that's a phenomenal intervention that pharmacies should be paid for.
Yeah.
Pharmacists can do all of the work necessary for most patients with high blood pressure to make sure that their blood pressure is under control. Like, find me a pharmacist who does not know that the max dose of losartan is XYZ, like 100 milligrams a day, right? If you find a patient who's on 25 milligrams a day of losartan and their blood pressure is not under control, you call the doctor and you change the dose. I mean, it doesn't have to be going and figuring out what the ideal cancer regimen is, like the ideal group of drugs to treat cancer is. Right. It can be this very simple stuff, but there is enormous value there. And because we don't take credit for it, that value isn't paid for.
Yeah.
And so our value as pharmacists is based on the way the PBMs pay us. It's
right.
Pills in a bottle. The NDC is what you get paid for.
So Benjamin, I used to do these, they call them, I guess, sprint triathlons or Olympic distance triathlons. 3 or 4 years ago, I did a handful in the summer. When I was doing them, they looked at me and they said, we need a different word on this than sprint. Let's just call them short ones. There was always somebody in the crowd saying, "Excuse me, when we get to this part of the race, do we turn this way or that way?" And I always thought, now, I'm looking at you and I don't know everything, but I don't think you're going to be in the lead just by the looks of it. And
you just follow the other people.
And if you're that far behind, if like the penultimate contestant is like a mile in front of you and you can't see them, then you've got problems bigger than this. All right. So here's why I ask it this way. I don't want to be that person that's looking for a problem. But let me ask, in the example that you just gave about, you throw a number out there, $1,000 to the local company and so on. In that picture that you painted, if you went out tomorrow and did this, let's say you had 100 of these figures and this and that, do you think that would happen? Does anything give you pause in terms of, well, I'm not quite the salesman type, Mike, or I don't really think this could happen because this company, I don't know if I could do this and blah, blah, blah. Do you have a confidence that could happen? And I guess specifically on the insurance, do you think a company, and I think they would, do you think a company would say, all right, we're paying $100,000. There's no law that says I can't give $1,000 to somebody else for a different service. So do you picture that a reality?
Absolutely. There are employers and there are health plans in this country right now that are paying for it.
Outside of their big insurance purchase.
Right. It's just an additional benefit to their employees outside of their health plan.
Gotcha. Well, frankly, it's not insurance. I mean, you're doing it for everybody, and there's no risk. Right. There's no risk. You're not saying I'm going to take care of them if they have a heart attack. You're just looking at the blood pressure.
Right. Like, frankly, that actually brings up a separate issue, which is why do we use insurance to buy drugs at all? It's a known expense, right?
Yeah,
You're not gonna not get your blood pressure medicine. That like you know that it's going to be this amount every month for the next forever.
right.
Using insurance to pay for that is dumb. Uh, just like this kind of service, using insurance to pay for it is dumb. It should just be paid for with cash.
With all the specialty drugs that we can't fill anyways that have been taken from us, our drugs only get so expensive.
Right. I mean, you're looking at you're looking at maybe a couple $100 a month, right? For
Yeah,
any given drug that you have in an independent pharmacy. The specialty stuff, yeah, you need insurance for if someone's going to get on some crazy hemophilia drug,
right.
right? You need insurance for that. But for the lisinoprils, the losartans, the torvastatins, these drugs are dirt cheap.
Right.
Like this is like going and filing a claim with your insurance when your glass breaks,
Yeah.
or when you need an oil change, or when you need to put gas in your car.
Yeah.
Right? Like in what world would you think that it's a good idea to file a claim with Geico to get gas put in your car?
Right.
Like they're just going to make your premiums go up next year.
Yeah.
Duh.
It's like getting a haircut 15, 20 times a year. And instead of me paying $15, I'd pay $30 to this national firm to give me a card to say I can go in and get half of that in haircuts every year.
Right. It's not an insurable risk.
No.
That's the big point. Is pharmacy, as a general rule, is not really insurable risk because it's a known expense. Like you know precisely who is going to spend the money. It's not like the whole we know someone's going to have this problem. It's Mike is going to be taking that same drug.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because of the people who've got it. If you've got a certain thing, unless you have a big surgery, you're probably going to have that forever. And the pharmacies, we're just not carrying that breaking the bank product anymore. That's
Right.
specialty stuff.
And they've channeled that entirely to mail order.
Right. They've taken all that.
And so like if you're going to work with an independent pharmacy, just say, "Okay, fine. We'll use our PBM card for those crazy expensive drugs and we'll just pay the pharmacy directly for the others."
And I wonder if you were to do that, if it would, like we talked about the insurances being bank accounts, if it would make your costs go down and then the insurance costs go down.
I mean, it's got to, right?
It seems so.
You'd think I mean, we talked about the last time we talked that the concept of a medical loss ratio, right? They have to spend a certain amount on claims.
Yeah.
And if you don't file those claims and the PBM can't mark up those claims and can't therefore make your medical loss ratio be here, then the medical loss ratio is going to be here and they can only mark up an additional 20% of that for the total premium cost, right?
Yeah.
And so if those claims aren't hitting the insurance, then theoretically your premium should go down. That's on the assumption that you work in a world where the actual cost of things is tied to the price that you're paying for your premium.
What I love about what you've said, I've heard it on a couple shows of yours. It's like, guys, you can do this. If you can't do this, you've never said it, but if you can't do, you can do this. You can take a blood pressure. You can do this.
Right. You can interpret a blood pressure. You can say that is high, that is low.
You're just naming it. You're just naming it.
That drug is to the target dose. I can do this. Like this is not hard.
I think that sounds great, and I think pharmacists, we're easy people. If you gave a pharmacy $1,000 and said, "This is for doing this," and it's not a lot of money, but
I do need you to write down what you did, though.
Yeah, you have to write it down, but you'll feel good about it. You actually get $1,000. We're not going to try to make you do this for 8 years before you see any money. It's tied. People love to be tied to money, even if it's not. Well, look at the billionaires. It doesn't matter how much of these guys have in billions. After the first
100 million.
20th of, yeah, the first 20th of a billion or 100th of a billion, you're doing fine. You're just, you're just keeping score. And so that $1,000 is like, just show me something, show me I'm keeping score. In fact, sometimes when I pay my team members at the pharmacy, I almost forget I'm paying them sometime. And I start being too nice to them. I'm like, hey, Bill, could you please do this for this customer, do this for that? And I think what I want to start doing is paying my team members in 20s.
Just instead of cutting them a check,
instead of cutting them a check,
you just hand them 20s.
Well, no, I wouldn't hand it to them. On payday, they come up. So let's say somebody comes up, a pharmacist, and let's say that's, let's say they get $2,000 that week. Okay, and this pharmacist, I've been kind of like, treating well because I don't want them upset if I do this or whatever. And they come up, and I wouldn't hand it to them. I'd take 120s, and I'd go 20, 40, 60, 80. 100, and I would do that up to 100 counts of that, and I'll say, now I ain't asking you any more damn favors. Next time when I'm thinking something and I just say, hey, do this, they'll do it.
Yeah,
you follow?
I do. Yeah, I mean, you're giving them money.
You're giving them money. You're giving them a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't see that and you just think they're working for you, like out of the goodness of their heart.
But no, people work for money. It's true. I mean, generally money is, people say, like in HR stuff, say this all the time, that usually money is not the reason why someone goes to one company versus another, though. Right?
Yeah.
And a raise does not necessarily mean that you're going to get that much money of extra value from the person, right?
Yes. Yes.
But you are paying people in money, and getting paid in money motivates people, and particularly motivates business owners, right?
Yeah.
If you see $1,000 hit your bank account that is for, I took care of Joe's Crab Shack's or Joe's Spork Factory's blood pressure, you're going to keep doing that.
You'll keep doing it.
Right? And you're going to go find another company that'll pay you another $1,000.
Here's what I don't like about my theory, though, at the pharmacy of paying in 20s. I'm afraid I'll come home sometime to Margaret and she'll say, underwear, socks, things that she's washed for me, or she'll, like, if we have, macaroni and cheese, she'll say macaroni, and just like put each one down, because there's a lot of love behind that.
A single one each, yeah.
Benjamin, we took it this big thing, and then we say, no, but this is really cool. Anything else? And I think this could go, and I think if we did that, that'd be really, really tremendous. I'm not saying you have to have something else, but do you have any more good news to share with me?
Well, I mean, just take that same concept of blood pressure, apply it to other common disease states, diabetes.
Yeah, right.
And just expand that concept.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That to me is where I want pharmacy practice to be. I want to get paid fairly for the drug. I want to get paid at least the cost of the drug plus a reasonable markup to pay for the drug. And then I want to get paid just a fee to take care of people's health overall. Right?
Right.
Like per person per month fee to just make sure that I'm practicing here, and like that money can be contingent on me actually doing stuff for them, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't, like, on social media the other day someone was like, and now there's these DIR fees, and now there's this contingent performance fee. But like, honestly, if it's not tied to the product but it's tied to my actual performance,
yeah.
Which that's the thing that I really don't like about DIR fees, is because they're saying we're going to make your payment for the product be contingent on your performance. I want to just get paid for my performance and have that be contingent on my performance on making sure people's blood pressure is under control and stuff.
Yeah, right.
But like, expand that out to other disease states, diabetes, I don't know, lipid control. Like there's a lot of things that pharmacists can do to improve the overall health of people at a very low price to the end payer, right?
Yeah.
Like, paying for a pharmacist to recommend that a dose be increased is super cheap. relative to, or paying for a pharmacist to call someone and say, hey, um, Mrs. Jones, let's talk about why you're not taking your drugs on time.
Yeah,
Like, getting people to actually take their drugs on time, that that saves the end payer a lot of money, end of day.
for sure.
And the crazy thing to me is that health plans, these big companies, United Health Group and Cigna and so forth, they pay gobs of money to companies that have like solutionized solving some of these big problems. And like the solution that they come up with is mailing a letter to someone saying high blood pressure is this.
Yeah, right.
That then just goes immediately into the trash. But they get paid like $1 a piece for every letter they send out. They are already spending this money on things that do not work. But if they
Yeah,
pay us to do this stuff, we can actually deliver. I know we can. We
yeah,
can actually deliver, and probably for cheaper.
right. We have medical equipment at our store, and we don't bill any insurance for it. And we kind of use the theory. I've always had a theory. It's like, all right, people don't use their insurance very much for medical equipment. A lot of them don't even know they have it. And when they do get it, they got to ask about deductibles and have a prescription and blah, blah, blah. So what I do at my pharmacy is I carry like medical equipment like under $100. And my theory is that people come in and see crutches for whatever, $30, and they see a little wrist brace for this and a commode for this. It's almost like if I need a commode, I'm not in the type of mood to be thinking about insurance too. Just let me buy the commode, cash.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see any parallel to that with either the employer with things getting so confusing or with our patients things getting so confusing that there's room for cash business in there?
I think so. I think so. I think that the trick is just figuring out how to market that to somebody for
Hmm.
them to pay you for it, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And I don't want to say drugs so much. We know the $4, the generic things.
right.
I'm thinking more of these services, maybe tied in with the medicine somehow. Or
Right, yeah. What I'm thinking is that like from my perspective, the person who's paying for
hmm
the end of not doing this is the person who's easiest to sell it to, right? I think that they're already paying for what happens if they don't do something about this. So it's easier in my mind to sell to them where most patients don't see that they are paying for this end of day.
ultimately, they're paying for it because of they could get fired because the company doesn't have enough money and things like that.
Right. So, I mean, they're ultimately paying for it because, like, okay, let's put it this way. People particularly on the left in this country, have noted for years that wages have pretty much stayed more or less flat. They've increased very marginally over the last 40 years.
Sure.
But total compensation of employees has actually increased substantially over that time. The gap between those two numbers is almost entirely the cost of health insurance.
Mm.
You're not paying for it directly. It's not money coming out of your pocket as a employee, but it's money that theoretically would have come to you,
Yeah.
except that it's going to the doctors and the PBMs and the insurance companies
Yeah.
instead of to you.
For us business owners, it's like you look at someone and they don't see this, but throw health insurance in there. Their whole cost just went up 20% because of the health
Right.
insurance. I can't throw in five on top of that or whatever. That's their rate.
Right. I'm not paying you $40 an hour, but I'm paying out $40 an hour for the for the work you do, right?
For
I'm
sure.
paying you 25, but the cost of your health insurance is another $15 an hour, right? And
Yeah.
so people don't see that, but I mean, I've seen all of these charts. It's like here's the growth of wages,
Yep.
and here's the growth of total compensation, and the difference is health insurance, and it's huge. But it means that your wages aren't going up because you're just getting paid differently by going to the hospital instead.
Yeah, right.
And so, anyway, but the point of bringing that up is that it should matter to
Right.
each individual person. And I think there are people who will pay cash for this. I have to believe that, or else there's no reason to even pursue it, right? If it's not going to be valued by anybody, then there's no point in doing it. I think that the person who's paying for it right now is the employer, and so they're probably more likely to be willing to pay for it.
Knowing that insurance is really a bank account that they're going to just pay more on next year. All right, so Benjamin, we talk about pharmacists having a service and getting paid for it and so on. You've done a really neat thing by consulting. How do you like it? How do you like the thought of you getting paid to talk to people and not doing the pharmacy? Let's say I said, I'm going to pay you X a year. And you don't even know what X is, but you can spend your time however you want to. You can spend half in the pharmacy, half on the phone with people, or you can do 100% on the phone and none in the pharmacy. I'm not going to tell you, you're going to get paid the same either way. Would you like doing that? Or is it a pain in the ass?
I actually really like talking to people about, helping, like, honestly, helping someone understand why their bank account just keeps going up, and then every time they pay their wholesaler, it goes to zero. Like,
Yeah.
I talked to a guy yesterday who literally was like, for the last 6 months, it's just money comes in, I pay my wholesaler, it's gone. Comes in, pay my wholesaler, it's gone. And we looked at his DIR fees, and he'd been selling $80,000 worth of brands at a loss that he didn't know he was selling at a loss. Um, and so, of course, if you're selling stuff at a loss, your bank account is not going to go up,
Yeah.
right? But like helping someone just take control of gain that sense of control of, okay, why do the numbers not add up?
Right.
Just helping someone understand that it's really satisfying personally. However, I think that most of the value that I bring to people is because I am on the bench, is because I am checking prescriptions, right? I don't think that I would be nearly as effective in talking to people if I didn't do that. One. And two, I do actually enjoy being a pharmacist.
Would you be a pharmacist for like 50% and then maybe run the business for 20% and then do consulting for 30%?
Some mix close to that, yeah.
Benjamin, in closing, you've been out of school now 2 or 3 years. Let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being you're really excited about the profession, and 1 being it's affecting you through, anxiety, leading to depression, leading to burnout, and those kind of things. And let's say we all go through ups and downs through the week.
When you see that lisinopril that pays 47 cents total, you say, I think it's a 1 today.
Yeah. Yeah, let's say there's some 1s and some 10s. Were you at 1 in 10 2 years ago and you're still at 1 in 10? Or did it used to be smaller? Or is it wider now? How does the pharmacy affect you? And in which way does it affect you mentally?
I'm excited about the future. I think that
You are.
I think that there's a lot of work ahead of particularly the small business pharmacy, independent pharmacy profession. I think there's a lot of work ahead of us to get to where we need to be. But I think that if we can pull that off, the future is very bright.
Would it be fair to say that you started a little higher? Once you learned all the crap that's out there, you took a dive.
I went way down. Oh, yeah.
Once you're faced with the pits of hell, it doesn't get a whole lot worse than that. It's like, all right, there's a fire. I can see it still. But then there's really nowhere to go but up.
Yeah, I think that our future is bright if we can deliver on getting people to pay us for these services. I think that people will pay us and are paying us, and I think that the future is very bright for that kind of business model. Like, frankly, running a store where all you do is put pills in a bottle and that's it, and you don't try to engage people in their healthcare beyond that, I don't think the future is bright for those folks.
Well, Benjamin, I'm a lot older than you are, but thanks for your mentorship online. And one thing I really appreciate, like I said, is that you're where I think the sky meets the ground. There's a lot of, and I'll put me in that position, a lot of us complainers out there. And then there's a lot of us people with big dreams. But until those kind of match up, you don't really get that gears, together, that traction. And that's what I really appreciate in seeing your stuff. And so thank you for that. And I'll continue to be a fan.
That's flattering. Thank you. I do hope that I can, try and actually marry those two, right?
Yeah.
Get the blue sky initiatives of all of the people in academia of pharmacy to actually come down and be a business model, right? That's
right.
That's my dream. And I think we're like this close. We're just honestly just got to go sell it now, right?
You're going to be a regular fixture on the show, I'm afraid. So I signed you up. So until next time, thanks, Benjamin. We'll be in touch.
Okay, talk to you later, Mike.
You've been listening to the Business of Pharmacy podcast with me, your host, Mike Kelzer. Please subscribe for all future episodes.